Hey guys, and welcome to this new Blender tutorial. My name's Stephen Lund, and in this tutorial I'll be showing you how to create this dandelion here. Um, I'm going to cover the complete process of modeling, texturing, and even rigging it, and then rendering it. So yeah, I have a few reference images here that I kind of based my scene off of. This one you can really see the different fibers and stuff against the black background, and if you notice close up on the stem of the seed, you'll see these little like flaky, pokey things, whatever. I'll be creating those with a hair simulation as well. So yeah, it's always good to look up a few reference photos before you get into a scene like this and kind of know what you're shooting for before you actually jump in and start modeling. But yeah, so let's get into it. First, I'll show you my original scene. So this right here is the finished scene. I have the simulations already applied to my stem and seed. So you can see I have a hair particle system applied to this, and I have a thin and thick hair, and then I also have a cloth simulation applied to the dead little leaves on the dandelion, as well as I have a modifier hook set up on the stem of it for rigging it and such, hooked up to an empty, so you can fully rigged like that. So yeah, hang tight, and let's get into it. Let's create a new scene in Blender. All right, here in a new scene, we'll delete the default cube. Hit X, delete, and go to side view. Shift A will add a curve, a Bezier curve. Now rotate that 90 degrees, and then rotate 90 degrees again along the Z axis. Now we'll just grab the top curve and scale to 0 along the X axis, and pull it down to about the center there, and then just Shift S, selection to cursor. So you have your top bar handle right at the origin point there. You can scale it down a little bit. Now let's get into our curve settings here. We'll want to change it from fill to full and give the resolution a boost. Put that up to about 6, and then give it the depth you want. So this will probably change later on, but for now we'll just go to 0.04, and we can make it a little bit longer, like so. Okay, now yeah, that'll work for now for the stem. Actually, while we're in edit mode on the curve, we're gonna add a handle to it. So this is controlled. This handle will be controlled by an empty. So to do this, we'll just hit Control H and hook to new object, and you can see it automatically added an empty in there. We'll scale it down a little bit. And now when we move the empty, you can see that handle follows it along with the rotation, and so that's really cool. But yeah, so let's add the head to the dandelion now. So move the cursor up around there, and we'll shift add a UV sphere, scale it down a bit, and tab it to edit mode, and we're going to delete the bottom 2/3 of it, just so we have something like that. So delete the vertices. You want to check this button right here so it doesn't limit the selection to view. X, delete those vertices. Select the rest of them and drop them down to the origin point there. Now using proportional editing, enable that. We'll want to scale this out, scroll your mouse wheel to control the amount of proportional editing. We want to scale this out to kind of have it kind of like something like so. Just do some of that. You might want to grab the bottom one and scale it in a little bit. Maybe grab this row and pull it down. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Scale it in a little bit. Alright, and now we want to select that and move it up to the origin point again. Alright, now we'll Shift S, put the cursor to center, Shift S, put the selection to the cursor. So snap down on top of that handle there. Now we might want to grab this bottom row of vertices and just pull it down a little bit more till you kind of get the shape you're looking for. That's a little elongated. Something like that. Maybe pull this row down a little bit. Scale it up a little bit. Alright, that looks almost okay. Scale it in a little bit. And scale that in a little bit more. Okay, you just kind of want it pinched in and bottom. That'll make it look a bit better in the finished results, but something like that looks okay. Okay, so now that you have the head, you can enable smooth shading. And go to your modifiers and add a subsurface modifier. We'll turn this up to something like 3. And now we'll add another modifier, displace. You can see that just makes it really large, but we're going to be using a texture. So go to your textures panel, you'll see it's under displacement. Click new displace, and we'll be using the cloud. No, we won't be using the clouds. We'll be using a Verani. And we're going to turn the size way down. First, let's go back to our modifiers and turn the strength way down, so we can kind of see better what we're going for. Alright. Now, jump back to your textures. Change the sizes to, we'll just go for a 0.1 for now. Now you want to change the intensity a little bit. Okay, that doesn't do anything there. But change the size. Just to kind of form, you can see in our reference image. You can see on our reference image here that you kind of have that displacement where there's those black dots and it divots down to it. So we're going to be adding that with this. So just adjusting the why can't I adjust the exponent? I'm not sure. Field feature. Okay, I figured it out. When you hover your mouse over the exponent there, it says Minkowski exponent. So I changed this to Minkowski, and now you can see it's more, when I adjust this, you get more like just holes forming in your mesh rather than the whole mesh being distorted. So change it to Minkowski or whatever that is, and these numbers mean nothing. But okay, back to your modifier. You might want to turn the strength up a little bit, and texture coordinate, leave it local. The direction. Trying to see if I can't get rid of that pinching up top. Is normal better than yeah, just leave that at normal. Calculate. Alright, so that's looking okay. You might want to play with that Minkowski exponent. Maybe try like a 0.9. Just so you kind of have these flatter areas, but then you also have those holes. Alright, that looks pretty good though. So yeah, that's it for the head, aside from texturing and bump mapping. So now let's shift add, or actually we can just select this, grab an edge like that, and shift D, and then hit P, separate by selection. So now we have this ring here, and go to top view, go into wireframe. We don't want or at least this displacement on it, so do that. And now you want to give it sort of a natural leave, not so they're all the same, but so they're more random. So disable proportional editing and select edge select mode, and I think this might be easy if we hide hit H on your head. So we just have this ring visible here. Now just kind of go around selecting every other few vertices like that, edges. Making it completely random, you know, nature is always going to be different. So, you know, select 3 here, leave a little bigger gap here and there. But just trying to keep it, you know, random and natural looking. So, just do something like that. Now go over to side view. And we'll actually stay on this. And with those vertices selected, change it to... is it individual origins? Yeah. Change it to individual origins in the pivot point. Now you can scale these up and leaving just small gaps between them, like so. Now go to side view and hit E to extrude and pull these vertices down and scaling them out a little bit. I think you can switch back from go back to pivot point instead of individual origins. Scale it out a little bit. Extrude it down again. Now, if you look at my finished render, I kind of pinched them in here and then flared them out like that. Looking at reference photos and such, that's what I found to be the most realistic looking. So you kind of want to bow, box select bottom. You kind of want to bow it in, just extruding, pulling down, scaling, extrude, pull down, and then kind of scale out at the end. So the last few frames we'll just kind of scale out a little bit. Okay, so now we got that. That looks pretty good, but it's also pretty, even though we selected those faces, you know, and such, it's pretty, let's face it, it's pretty even looking still. So first, why don't we just grab his top vertices here and pull them down a little bit. All of these down a little bit. Scale them a little bit. And you want to select your top row of vertices now, these, and extrude them up as a solid. And that will just kind of go underneath. If you hit Option H now, it'll unhide the tab about Option H, it'll unhide your head. So that'll kind of add the just attaching, you know, from the head to that. So selecting this and pinching it in there a little bit. But what I actually did now in my final render to give it more of a random feel is select the bottom row of vertices and select proportional editing, enable it, and then the fall off, choose random, and I think you can change this to individual origins and change it to connected. And now if I grab just one of these faces, everything within the round selection of the proportional editing will be randomized. I think I might have to change median point actually. And oh, I guess you don't want connected too. Sorry about that. So now you can see the whole thing is being kind of randomized up, funky like, when I scale, and that's due to the proportional editing fall off. So yeah, just kind of want to just grab vertices and just kind of pull them around slightly, changing your fall off size and such to try and get this natural. You might want to make it really small for some of these to kind of give them their own character and length. Just kind of moving them around and such. Remembering to keep that kind of pinched look around the center there. And then, yeah, just kind of moving them around and changing the fall off size. That really gives you a much more natural looking result. And we'll also be adding displacements and such to this later on, which will help the natural look to it. But it's all, you know, personal opinion. Enable smooth shading. Oh, you also have to recalculate the normals because of the way we modeled this. But alright, that's looking okay. Let's go into our modifiers and add a solidify modifier just to give a little bit of thickness, and add a displacement modifier. And go new displacement texture. We'll just leave it on clouds. Make it a little bigger. Give it some depth, and adjust the strength way down to. You can see the solidify modifier is kind of messing it up there, so you want to put the solidify modifier on bottom, and collapse that. That's looking pretty good. Just a little bit of displacement on that, maybe a 0.2, but again, this is all personal opinion, so whatever you want. Let's grab that top row of vertices again, and you can kind of see it needs to be scaled out a little bit up there. Just like so. Maybe a little more scaling. Like so. Okay, that's looking okay. So now, that might be a little too much actually. Just scale it down a little bit. So now to rig this head, we want to select the head here, and then shift, select the empty, and hit Control P and set parent to object. So now when we move the our empty, our head's going with it, and then we want to select the leaves here, dead leaves, and shift select the head and Control P, parent that to that. So now when we move the empty, our whole head is going with it, and with rotation and stuff as well. So that looks pretty good. Now, yeah, let's model the seed now. Okay, for the seed, we'll start off with the little end point. As you can see in my reference image here, we'll start off modeling the base of it, I guess, the root. So for this, we'll just we can start with a number of objects. I think I'll just do a circle. Go to top view and scale that down. And as you can see in my reference images here, just hang on a second, bring them up. I have close up here. You can kind of see they're slightly squared off, but also have some random, ripples going through them and stuff, and kind of a banana-like curve to it. So you can do a little bit of proportional editing work to kind of give it a little bit of a random but squared off feel. So just pulling in the corners, leaving proportional editing enabled will do that for you. Just something like that. It's okay. So now we'll scale it down a little bit more. We'll be scaling it down a lot more in the future, but for now. And now select those vertices, extrude. Oh, you want to disable proportional editing for this. Extrude, pull them down, scale them a little bit, and rotate them a little bit around the Z axis. Now you can extrude again, pull them down, scale them a little bit, and rotate a little bit along with the Z, just to kind of get like that twist effect going there. That looks kind of cool. Rotate a little more around the Z, like that. Extrude, pull it down as it gets narrower towards the base, so we'll just be doing that, rotating it along the Z axis, like so. It's pretty good. Extrude, whoop, what happened? Rotate along the Z. Oh, wrong way. Alright, there we go. Extrude, pull it down, and then we'll just scale it down to the tip there, so pretty small. And we'll want to, well actually I think we'll be adding a multi-res modifier to this, because we'll be doing some sculpting as well, just a little bit. But so go add multi-resolution, and then just subdivide it 2 or 3 times. I think we'll go with 3. So you can kind of see we're getting that seed look to it. And then we'll just finish off the top here by extruding it up, scaling it out a little bit, rotating it along the Z to keep the same little bit of curve going, and then extrude it up and go inward, like so. Maybe one more time, extrude it up and go inward to the point there. You might want to select this row vertices, pull it down, scale it up, select this row, pull it down, scale up. And then you can kind of add that curve effect by, why don't we enable proportional editing and turn off the noise now, and kind of just give a little bit of a curve to it, like that. Alright, that looks pretty good. Enable smooth shading as well. Okay, so let's quick do the sculpting I was talking about. Just switch from object mode over to sculpt mode. And draw will be fine. Hit F to make your brush smaller. And we just want to add a few more of these like ridges, maybe. So turn the strength up a little bit. And oh, that's the wrong way. We want to subtract. Seems like it's the normals are messed up on this. Let's go to normals, recalculate, and now go back to add. And you can see it's working. Change strength down a bit, down to 0.25 or so, maybe even 0.15. And now just kind of add some more finer tuned details. Looks kind of strong still. Turn down just minor, a little less minor, something like that. And you can kind of add those fine-tune veins. This is more of an optional step. You don't have to do this if you've done some of the modeling that I did already. But it also depends how close your scene is going to be. If you're going to have a really close camera shot on it, you'll probably want a bit more detail. But if it's more of a far away shot, this is unnecessary. But yeah, just a few more details. Looks good. Something like that. Alright, you can see that looks pretty good. Maybe a few more up around the base there. Alright, so that's good. We'll go back to object mode. Why don't we put the origin point at the tip of the base here. So Shift S, selection to cursor. Shift S, cursor to selected, and then tab out of that, go object, transform, origin to 3D cursor. So you can see we have our origin down there now. Alright, so put the cursor at the base here. Well, actually, why don't we just zoom out and put the cursor up there, and we'll add a curve for the stem. Rotate it 90 degrees. Rotate it 90 degrees on the Z. Scale it down. And go to our curve settings. Enable full. Give it some depth. Keeping it pretty thin. And a little more resolution. And then you might also want to add some resolution up here. Make that 16 maybe. And just grab the bottom handle and move it to the center of that, and maybe Option S, scaling it up a little bit at the base, something like that. And now this handle, you probably don't want that much curve in your stem, so just leave a little bit of curve like that maybe, and then scale it down at the top. Option S, okay. Save. Okay, so that's looking okay. We might want to rotate that a little bit. Move it like so. That's looking pretty good. So let's scale this down a little bit. Move it down. And then grab this row of vertices and just kind of turn proportional editing off. Just kind of scale those in like that. Alright, that looks pretty good. You can select both those and position them for your scene now, scaling them down to something like that. This looks a little squatty to me. Why don't we select the bottom, enable proportional editing, and just kind of drag it out a little bit. Pull it back up. Maybe a little less. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, scale it down a little more, rotate it, and just kind of position it inside one of these holes. Something like that. Looks good front view. Now this is all where your own creative touch can come into play. And you can do multiple seeds if you want. For my scene I just did one. But something like that. Maybe move it a little closer to the camera. Like that. That looks pretty good. Okay. So that looks okay. A few things catching my eye here. I think we should scale these vertices down a little bit. You don't want it to look too fake. I think the displacement might be a little strong. Maybe we'll go down to 0.18. So something like that. And maybe we can scale the head down. No. Just have it edit mode. Go to front view. Maybe just grab this row and pull it down slightly. I think my head's a little big. Maybe in edit mode. Scale the whole thing slightly. Move it down. Better to do it now than when you have everything else set up, but alright, that's looking okay. So that's basically it for the modeling. When I come back, I'll be doing the texturing, and then after that I'll be doing the simulating. Maybe it'll be the simulating next. I'll do the simulation next, and then I'll do the texturing and rendering. So hang tight, guys, and I'll be right back. Alright, so in my scene I added a cloth simulation to the dead little leaves here. So I'll do that step now. We'll start by adding a vertex group and switching over to weight paint. Now you want to turn your strength way down for this step and hit F to make your brush bigger. So we basically want to make more the red areas is where there's going to be basically no stimulation, and the bluer areas is going to be where there's stimulation. So basically I want it to be most stiff and not simulated up on top, but more towards the bottom. So just something like that where you can see it's kind of contrasted down to the bottom. Should look good. So that will work okay for that. Now maybe pull that up a little bit so you can't see the seam there. So now switch to your physics tab and enable cloth. And we want to enable pinning right there, and select your vertex group there. Now simulations you want to be saving often because they can be a little bit more finicky. So yeah, a few settings we want to change. If we play a simulation right now, it will it'll go haywire. Alright. Not exactly sure why I did that, but okay. Let's turn our structure down a little bit, and our air. We don't want it to be falling very fast, so since air has normally some thickness which slows down falling things, so we'll make this just a smaller number, down to like a 0.3, and we'll just leave that at that for now. And let's try this again. Fingers crossed. Well, it's still going haywire. Why is it doing that? Maybe it's the order I have my, that might be it. I might want to put my, my cloth simulation above the displacement and the solidify. Let's try that now again. Oh, no. Still going haywire. Maybe it could be a normal issue. Select all, flip direction, recalculate. See if that might have fixed our issue. I don't know what is causing this. Maybe unchecked cloth collision? Try that. Oh, nope. It's still going haywire on us. Double check your vertex group. Make sure that everything. You want to select your top row of vertices and assign those this way, so those will be 100% solid, so those don't move at all. But yeah, back into our turn the velocity down. Maybe make that 0.6. But yeah, why is this going haywire on us? Alright, there we go. We're seeing a little less haywire results. Whoa. Alright, you gotta be careful about your vertex or weight paint. And maybe we don't have it dense enough in here. So make that just a little bit more yellow in there. So we have less movement there. Go back. Fingers crossed, try it again. It's still going pretty crazy. Why don't we try turning the velocity down even more. Make that just like a 0.1. Try that. Still kind of haywire. Well, let's I'll pause the recording and try and get this figured out and be right back in a sec. Okay, I figured it out. Silly me, I should have moved the cloth simulator all the way to the top above the subsurf, but you do that and your simulation becomes a lot less exciting, but a lot more realistic. So you can see it's just a little bit of movement there. What we can do though is go to your weight paint and your draw tool, go to subtract, and just make this not so pinned, make it a little bit less pinned, and give a little bit more spring to it. So let's put that at 6.5 or something, and then you continue your steps up a little bit. But you might want to wait on that until you're happy with the simulation. So, well, getting a little bit of that's happening because this is no longer 100% pinned. So go back to here and assign it again. Try that again. Alright, so that's looking okay. Now if you want to have more movement, well, actually, for me, the reason I had more movement in mine is because I animated this for moving back and forth, and you can see you get the result. So maybe I'll show you how to do that later on, but you can see the simulation is working well. So yeah, let's go on to the hair now. So selecting the curve, we'll go Object, Convert to Mesh from Text, and now you can see we have our vertices on the curve. And why don't we select that, Shift S, cursor to selected, Object, Transform, Origin to 30 cursor. Alright, now that you have that, we want to select this ring of vertices here, and Shift D, and turn off proportion lighting if it's enabled. Scale it up a little bit, extrude it out, scale it up, extrude it out, and scale it down slightly. So you have that kind of little head on it, and this will be our emitter for the hair. So select that. You can select it by hitting L and P, separate by selection. So now you have this. Go to your particle settings, add a new particle system, and make it hair. You can see it's way too long. Select advanced, change the emitter down to like a 0.2, 0.02. 0.02 looks pretty good. And as you can see that is not emitting in the right direction. So you can change a few things here. We'll start with the emitter X, turn it to about a minus 0.01, so you have it emitting outwards. You can turn the number down to about 40 or so, and emit from vertices. Okay, so that's looking a little bit better. You might want to take this W and subdivide it once so you have more vertices, get a little more random look like that. But alright, and then you can add a little bit of random value here as well, so you have that effect kind of going. And if you want to make your hair longer, you just the emitter geometry here. So yeah, that's looking okay. If your hair is sticking, outwards too much, you can just adjust the direction these faces are by enabling proportional editing and scaling, like so. Scrolling my wheel down to do that. But the direction that these faces are facing, I'll show you if I turn on my normals. You can see they actually need to be recalculated, so recalculate normals, and you can see that the direction the faces are facing is the direction the hairs are going to be emitted from. So you can see right now, maybe my bottom row of vertices is sticking out too much, and I want to scale those in a little bit, just to kind of pull them up a little bit. I'll scale my whole object down a little bit. So yeah, it's a little tip for you, but I think that's not looking too bad. Maybe just add a little more emitter to that, and then you can play with these as well. I don't think that's necessary though. You got a little bit of Brownian, I think it's called. Well, a very little bit to give you a little bit more randomness. You'll see that gives it a little bit more natural look. And I want to turn this way back just so it doesn't do anything. Just sticking upwards a little bit more than I'd like that ways. So I think I'll tab into edit mode and scale this up again. Something like so. Should be good. And then I can use my X emitter to control how much I want that. So something like that looks pretty good. And you might want more. In my render, I did 2 particle systems. It wasn't really necessary, and you could do 2. I did 1 just a little bit thinner rendering, but you don't have to do 2, so I think I'll just stick with 1. But that's looking okay. So now let's get into the Command Z. I just want to turn this down a little bit, make it a 0.02, minus 0.02. Now we're going to get into the fun part, enable the hair dynamics, and turn up the stiffness, make that about a 0.4. These will have to be played with, but we'll just start with that, and we'll just leave that. We'll just see what it's looking like right now. Alright, you can see it's it's more of a dead dandelion seed. I don't know if there's such thing as a dead dandelion seed, but I think we have too much mass, so just go 0.05 on the mass. And I think we'll turn our bending up to like a 0.9. You can see if you hover over it, it says wrinkle higher equals smaller but bigger wrinkles, so I think we want a higher so we don't have too much little details. Whoa. Okay. Turn that back down. Nope. That's the thing with simulations. Sometimes it'll just go haywire on you and you'll have to play around with it. Let's try making the stiffness a higher value. Let's try making the mass a little bit heavier. 0.08. Funny simulations, they always surprise you. Let's add a little bit more spring to it. Try and get this acting somewhat normal. I don't know why it's doing that, but let's just try putting our mass back to how it was and seeing if it's still doing that. Turn our stiffness all the way off. Okay. It acts normal with the stiffness down. So let's turn our stiffness up. Whoa. It wanted to act normal for a little bit there. Alright, let's change a few settings here that might fix it. Let's add some subframes to it and give it more steps for this is for the render, but it'll look smoother when you render it, so boost that up. And maybe turn the brown in motion. I guess that should be okay. Alright, so try adding the sub steps and we'll see if that fixes anything. Oh, no. Alright, let's turn our air value way down. This is the, again, thickness, which slows things falling down. Boy. Why me? I always get the craziest simulations. Well, I guess I'll pause the recording again and try and figure this out. Maybe try turning the cache steps down to 1. And try that again. Yep, no. Alright, I'll pause the recording and get back to you again. Hang on. Okay, I figured it out. After much searching, you have to turn the stiffness value way down. So I'll just make this like a 0.3. And then you play the simulation through and voila, it's working. So, yeah, I don't know if that's a bug or something, but it's working, so hopefully it's working for you too. So I have the air set down to 0.1 and the spring at 8. Maybe I'll go down to 6 in the spring. And yeah, so that's that looks pretty good. Maybe I can fingers crossed make the stiffness a little bit stronger and try that again. And whoa, no, holy smokes, touchy. Okay, I'll just go back to 0.3. And that seems pretty stable. Alright, so that's working well. Whoa. Still seems to be bouncing a little bit. But, alright, that looks pretty good for now. So, with the simulation working pretty well, we can, let's change a few things real quick. I have the steps turned up there, but you can turn this quality up here now to 15 or so. And I think there's a way to, I don't know, is this changing that? Display steps, you can change the steps up right there. I'll just go 7 on both these. Okay. Alright, so that's looking okay. You might want to turn the mass down a little bit and see if that works. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay, that's working okay. So you can play with those settings, but I'm gonna move on. So let's at the tip of this point here, Shift S, cursor to selected, and I think I did this once already, but gotta do it again. Origin to 3D cursor, and Shift add empty. Empty right here, just plain axis empty. Scale it down, and we'll take this empty and select the bulb there, and Control P, set parent to. So now remove this, that empty moves with it. And now we'll select this. I found this worked best for the simulation. I had problems when trying to parent this to that, so what I did was, well, actually, let's see if I can do it. Maybe this will work. Set parent to object, and then select this one, select that one, Control P, set parent to object, and then our hair up there, select that one, Control P, set parent to object. Let's see if that works. And then if I select this and move it, you can see our hair dynamics are working and our cloth dynamics are all working well. Alright, so that works pretty well. Alright, so now I'll show you a quick animation for this. I don't know how you're going to want to animate your scene, but this is how I did mine. Go to your graph editor, split the view here, and at frame 1, with your main empty selected, insert a location rotation. And with that inserted, we can go to our graph editor here and drop down the location rotation. And you want to grab along the x-axis here. So select x-axis, hit your N to bring up your properties, and add modifier noise. Now you want bigger noise, so make that value 50. And just you gotta have to test with that. That looks like it's too much. So you want to change the amplitude of the strength. That's like a 0.1. So if you zoom in here, you can see it's much more subtle. Collapse our view here a little bit. Try and get a little bit more. All right, let's try that. Whoop. Okay, our simulation got all messed up there. Alright, so let's just hide the simulations for now, so they're not going haywire as we're tweaking these settings. And then select the empty, and I'll re-add the noise modifier, making this 35 and this 0.1. And see how that works. You can see it's kind of like wind blowing it or something. Maybe make this a little bit less, like 30. Depends how much wind you want. Maybe it's 1.5 or something. Just so it's moving like that. Alright, and then for the rotation, you select the Y rotation, add modifier, noise. And you want the scale to be the exact same as your X location. And then we have 30 here, so you want the scale to be 30. And then the strength can be whatever it needs to be to match up. We'll see how that looks. You can see our rotation going back and forth like that. And you can see it's going right with the movements because our scale is the same size. So yeah, that looks pretty good. I think that's a little too much rotating though, so we can go 0.6 or so on our rotating, but maybe a little less still. Cut that in half, 0.5. Whoop, sorry about that. Just quit that. Okay, just. Okay, so yeah, that looks pretty good on the rotation now. So yeah, that's how I did my my wind movement there. So that's we can unhide our simulations now, and see. You can see they need to be cleared. So to clear them, you can just go, change the setting a little bit or something, and then it recalculates the whole thing. So that's working pretty good. You might have to tweak a little bit. I think I have a little too much wind, but not too bad. And then our hair simulation too. You can see it's already all cached. So you just want to re-enter value or something, and it goes back to nothing. So you can see your hair moving with the simulation, your cloth moving with the simulation. Although the cloth is a little bit it's not too bad. I think I got the wind just a little too high in places, but everything's working well. So now we got that set up, let's move on to texturing and materials.